it is time. The granddaddy of them all. March Madness is finally upon us after a long season of regular season battles, grinding it out in the conference tournaments. The selection committee has made their choices. The 68 teams are finally announced. And Peter, this bracket is absolutely crazy.
I mean, it truly is. I mean, watching a selection show last night, there were some times I just couldn't believe how stacked some, sides of the bracket were. How I wasn't sure about the matchups. It's just, you can look at pretty much almost every first round, every matchup, and you can say, that's interesting. There's something I want to see in that game.
I couldn't agree more, Peter. And maybe, you know what, the committee did it on purpose. This year there's so much parity in college basketball, so why not have even more parity with the selections? You know, key teams missing out like Monmouth, South Carolina, St. Mary's, Tulsa and Michigan getting the favorites, but that's for another discussion. But so I'm just excited, I'm nervous, I'm anxious. There's so many words to describe. As you said, every matchup there's something to look forward to. I'm just excited, Peter.
I mean, you can see if there could be a lot of chalk this year, or there could be, a lot of upsets. It's one of those years where we have no idea what's going to happen. Because you can look at some of these one seeds and say, they look really good. You look down, you look at some of the 4s, the 5s, the 6s, even the 7 seeds. There's some high-quality teams that maybe didn't do as well as they wanted to in the regular season. And if they can pick it up now, they can get hot at the right time and make a move.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about some of our picks today. Now, let me just go out and say, my bracket is not perfect. All right, I'm sure Peter's bracket is not perfect. Otherwise, we would be retired, courtesy of Warren Buffett. So we're just gonna give our opinions, our predictions. So don't take them too seriously, but maybe we'll help you out. If we help you out, thank us. If we don't, maybe don't say anything to us in the hallways. But so let's just go for it. The South Division. Who do you? Give me one upset you have in the early rounds, Peter.
I have Buffalo over Miami. I mean, Miami, I'm not very big on them this year. There are a lot of teams that I like better, I think are better, that are ranked lower, especially in this South Division. And with a team like Buffalo, sometimes the teams you don't expect tend to make a run like that, and I can see Buffalo doing that.
Yeah, and also don't forget that game is in Providence, Rhode Island. I expect Buffalo to have maybe some fans drive over. Miami, not so much. I saw Miami play in the ACC tournament. They're very talented, but it's not always about talent, people. You have to be in the right mindset. And yeah, I agree. I think Buffalo can possibly upset, a 14 always seems to beat 1-3. There's always that 1-3 seed that goes down. I don't know how strong Miami is. So yeah, that's a possibility. For me, I have South Dakota State, the 12 seed, upsetting the 5th seed Maryland. Now, a lot of people are high on Maryland. I know they have some NBA talent, but don't get me wrong, people. South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, watch out. This game is being played in Spokane. So, for me, cross-country flight from Maryland. Maryland might not be too excited about the tournament. They got a 5 seed. Some of these players already, Diamond Stowe, the Melo Trimble's already looking forward to the NBA draft. I don't know how hyped or how ready they're going to be for the NCAA tournament. They're not that excited. Who wants to fly cross-country Spokane? South Dakota, might not be up to their level, their standards, their expectations. So I think the Jackrabbits are going to defeat the Terrapins.
I mean, I have Maryland myself, but I could definitely see it happening. South Dakota State, underrated team. It's a mid-major, low-major that has made upsets in before, that have really played these teams tough in a 5-12 matchup. And you make a lot of great points on how Maryland, they struggled down the stretch. After starting off, 15-1, 16-1, they've went 10-7 in their last 17 games, but I just think there's too much talent to just bow out so early. I mean, they're the 5th seed. They were #1 ESPN's power ranking in the year. If they don't have a chip on their shoulder, then I can see them losing. But I do think they'll show up, at least for this first round game.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Hey, we'll see. You never know. It's March. Anything can happen. That's what is so great about this tournament. Now, who do you have in the Sweet 16 in this region?
I have Kansas, California, Arizona, and Villanova.
Wow, Peter, couldn't agree more myself. I have the 1 seed Kansas, 4 seed California, 6 seed Arizona, and the 2nd seed Villanova, who almost got a 1 seed themselves, but that's for another discussion. So now, moving right along, on to the West. One upset that I have Northern Iowa defeating Texas, the 11th seed being the 6th seed. I've seen Northern Iowa all season long. They defeated Wichita State twice, once in Wichita. I'm very impressed with their guard play. They've been here before. This isn't their first time. Last year they made a deep run. Everyone, the infamous shot, defeating Kansas. So They've been here before. Northern Iowa is a good crowd. I believe that they will be able to take down Texas.
I mean, again, you're another team that has history of making these upsets. And once they've also defeated UNC earlier in the year. They know they can do it. I just think, Shaka Smart's first year at Texas, he's done such a great job. I don't see how he doesn't get these guys riled up, for the first tournament game. This is something that Shaka Smart does so well, is the NCAA AA tournament. And I just don't see how he loses his first game in Texas in the tournament.
Last year I had Texas going real far, and they screwed me in the first game they lost to Butler. So maybe I'm still a little salty about it. So maybe that swayed me a little bit. But I'm high on Northern Iowa, but that's just me. So now, what's one upset you have in that region, Peter?
It's not really an upset, but I'd just like to discuss the 8-9 matchup. St. Joe's, the 8 seed over. I have them over Cincinnati. This is a good team with some NBA talented players, and will pose a tough matchup for Oregon in the 1-8 game. Yeah,
certainly. And then St. Joe's, they won the A-10 tournament. That's no easy accomplishment. We've discussed the A-10 and how that's a serious conference before. St. Joe's, it's a very good squad. Again, as you mentioned, veteran. They have very good guard play. The A-10 Player of the Year. So I would watch out for St. Joe's. Now, who's your Sweet 16?
Well, I have St. Joe's, Duke, Texas, and Oklahoma.
So you have St. Joe's defeating Oregon, the 1 seed. I have Oregon, the 1 seed, Duke 4, Northern Iowa, the 11 seed, and Oklahoma as a 2 seed. So we will see. Once again, that's the West. In my opinion, the weakest of the 4 regions, but you never know. And then moving right along here, the East. What's one upset, Peter?
Well, I have the winner of Michigan-Tulsa, who I believe to Michigan, defeating Notre Dame in the 6-11 matchup. Now, I don't know. Maybe I've never really been a big fan of Notre Dame. I think they're not as good as they were last year. They've had some struggles this year. I haven't seen them really put it all together. And with a team like Michigan, yes, they were destroyed by Purdue in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament. But this is a team who was on a little bit of a run. They're happy to get in, and I just believe they'll step up to the plate in the 6-11 game.
I mean, it's incredible. You took the words right out of my mouth. My bracket is identical to yours in that I also have Michigan defeating Tulsa, defeating Notre Dame, and then defeating Stephen F. Austin. You're right. Notre Dame, Mike Bright, he's had success in the 4, his success before in the tournament. His team is so up and down. Some years, last year they make the Elite 8, almost defeat Kentucky. Then other years they get upset the first round. I think this is one of those years, they're just so inconsistent. And Michigan, yeah, a team that can shoot the 3-point ball so well always seems to thrive in late March, early April. Karis LeVert went down. Spike Albright's not playing. They still have other players to look for. Dawson, Zach Irvin. I wouldn't overlook Michigan and the Wolverines. They might make some noise. I wouldn't put it past John Beilein to get his troops ready for the tournament. I'm looking forward to it. Now, for the Sweet 16 in the East region, I have the 1 seed UNC. I have Kentucky defeating Indiana, so I have Kentucky matching up against UNC. Michigan versus Xavier. What about yourself?
We have 3 of the same 4. I have UNC, Kentucky, and Michigan as well. But I have Wisconsin, the 7 seed, coming in the final Sweet 16 spot.
I had Wisconsin, and then I erased it. So that was one for me. Basically a flip of the coin. Xavier, I just like the way they play man-to-man, 1-3-1. They mix it up. They do something different. I think they could throw off Wisconsin, but I could be wrong once again. I don't know. It's interesting. There's just so many different storylines. Whatever happens, happens. It's unpredictable. That's what's so great. All right. And lastly, in the Midwest, one upset that I have Butler in the Sweet 16. I have Butler defeating Texas Tech, the 9 defeating the 8. May not be a huge upset. Then I have Butler defeating Virginia, the 1 seed. Butler has tournament experience. Roosevelt Jones, Dunham, they've been there before. Brad Stevens is gone. That doesn't matter. This is still a strong club out of the Big East.
I have Butler beating Texas Tech as well, but I don't think they can handle with Virginia. I mean, that was I think it's somewhat of an embarrassing loss, that ACC final loss. But, Brogdon just, can't shoot, and neither can, Parentes. I mean, these guys, if they're not hyped up for the tournament, I don't know what'll hype them up. And I just don't think they'll be out in the first weekend again.
Yeah, a Butler UVA matchup. That'll be a gritty matchup. Neither team is prolific on the offensive end. Both teams strive off their defense, so I could see like a 57-50 game. You know, so I think it's a grind it out, and I just think Butler is more physical, and I just think they're gonna end up on top. So my Sweet 16 in the Midwest, I have 9-seeded Butler, 5th-seeded Purdue, 3rd seed Utah. That took a lot out of me not to write Seton Hall down, and then Michigan State, the 2nd seed. What about yourself?
Well, I have Virginia, and instead of Butler as you, and I have Iowa State because I have actually Purdue losing to Arkansas Little Rock in the 1st round. These are guys, you know, it's a first-year coach.
Yep.
Watch out. This is a team that hasn't lost in a while, and they're going to be hot. And then I have Utah and Michigan State as well.
All right, well, it's very interesting. We've gone over Sweet 16 now. Let's dig in, shall we? Kansas versus California in the South. Who do you have, Peter?
I have California. I love this team, and I truly mean that. Looking at guys, you're looking at elite NBA talent. Jaylen Brown on the wing, Ivan Rabb in the post, and even the senior Wallace. That's a high-quality guard right there. They have, you know, 3 players, and they have some role players as well.
Sam Singer.
Sam Singer.
Yeah.
These guys will make a statement in the tournament.
You know, Peter, it's funny. I also have California defeating the #1 overall seed, Kansas. Everyone's picking Kansas to go real far, so maybe contrary of us to pick California. But yeah, as you mentioned, they have some raw talent, some NBA talent, and I've seen them all season through the Pac-12. They're a very good club. Bill Self will have Kansas ready, but I just think California is too strong, too much talent. You know, Wayne Selden, Perry Ellis. It's a nice story of Kansas, but I just don't think this year that they're going to make it as far as they have in the past, so I couldn't agree with you more. California in the Elite Eight. Now bring it on down to the next matchup in the South. Arizona versus Villanova.
I mean, this is going to be, you know, a good matchup. Really one's going to focus, I believe, on the guard play. You know, you look at guys like Josh Hart, Ryan Arcidiacono, and Villanova are going to have to face up with the guard of Arizona led by Gabe York. I just think Arizona is just too tough for Villanova. Villanova has holes, and if, you know, they're not shooting the ball well, you can beat them.
And also a big question for me, is Daniel Achefu healthy? You know, that game against Seton Hall, the Big East final, he didn't play as much as he would like. He had that high ankle sprain. They didn't tell us a lot about it, so I don't know if he's healthy. That's a huge factor for me. And as you mentioned, I think Villanova might have the edge in the guards with Hart and Arcidiacono, but in the 3-4-5 between Anderson, Tollefson, Tarczewski, Trier, I just think Arizona is too strong. You know, they've gone through the heart and soul of the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is a better conference. It's prepared them better for the tournament. So that's why I have Arizona past Villanova.
As do I.
So now we're going to move right down to Oregon versus Duke. That is my matchup. You have St. Joe's versus Duke. I'll go first. I have Oregon defeating Duke. I didn't want to have Duke going that far, but I just think the matchups favor them. You know, UNC Wilmington, and then I have them facing Yale instead of Baylor. So I have Oregon defeating Duke. Oregon, they go under the radar, people, because they play at 10 o'clock. They don't get the prime time. They play out west. Not a lot of people stay up and watch their games. That offense is one to be scared of, people. You know, they defeated Utah, a very good team, in the Pac-12 championship by 30 points. I don't care who you play by 30 points. A championship game, they play up to the level, up to the competition. It's spectacular. They defeated Arizona twice, who I said I had going far. So I think Oregon is going to reach the Elite Eight.
I mean, I agree with you that, you know, I didn't like to put Duke this far, but he kind of, in the matchup wise, just I don't see him losing these games. But I mean, for some reason, I like St. Joe's this year. I mean, every year there's that one team. Yeah, I mean, you always have to, for the last like 6 years, you've had an 8 defeat a 1 or a 9 defeat a 1. So I went with St. Joe's, and it just felt like they match up well with Duke. I mean, there's going to come a point where Duke's bench is just going to implode. You know, this is a short bench. They don't have the bench to win it all this year because they're going to have 6 guys rotating in. And there's going to come a certain point where it's just all going to fall down, and I think it's going to be this game against St. Joe's.
So St. Joe's is your upset team. My upset team is a little bit similar. I have Northern Iowa just in the same region, just a bit down. I have Northern Iowa defeating Oklahoma and reaching the Elite Eight. Northern Iowa, I told you before, I'm very high on them. You know, if they get past that first game, that for me is huge. They got to get past Texas, but I believe if they get past Texas, the tournament is theirs to lose. You know, I have them in the Elite Eight. I think they can do it. I think Oklahoma's a bit overrated. You know, if Buddy Hield just doesn't shoot well one game, Oklahoma, in my opinion, is lost on offense. They're so stagnant. So I see the Panthers defeating the Sooners.
I mean, I have Oklahoma, Texas in mind. I mean, Oklahoma is a flawed team, as you said, but I just think it's this side of this, quadrant of the bracket is so weak that, I think Oklahoma is the best team despite being a 2 seed in this one. And I have them facing Texas. I have them beating Texas, a little Red River rivalry here. But it's just a good team, Hield, Cousins, Woodward, Sprangler. These are guys who are good players all around. And, if they're shooting the ball well, they're going to win. And I just think they can beat Texas.
Yeah, well, and maybe. You never know in a rivalry game. This will be their 3rd time playing. Anything can happen in this whole tournament and specifically that game. So it'll be interesting. Talking about interesting, UNC versus Kentucky, 2 powerhouses. I mean, we got the Super Bowl possibly in the Sweet 16. It's a fan's delight. It's a fan's dream come true. UNC versus Kentucky. Does it get any bigger than that?
I really don't think it does. I mean, these are 2 very good teams. I mean, we're talking about guard play a lot. The guard play on Kentucky is just spectacular. You look at, Ulis and Jamal Murray. Those are 2 guys who have just really shot the lights out of the building, the last month and a half of the season. And if you look on UNC, you look at guys like Marcus Page, Joel Berry II. These are, Joel Berry II has played well all year.
Yeah.
He just struggled. But if you watched him in that AC championship game, he shut down Brogdon. And despite only going 5 for 13, he was the key player in that game.
Now, this is interesting for a multitude of reasons. Do you have the seniors of UNC, or do you have the freshmen and sophomores of Kentucky? Are you taking the talent, or are you taking the experience, Peter?
I mean, I'm taking the talent, and I believe there's more talent on UNC than Kentucky. I mean, look at that team. Who's gonna? I mean, Bryce Johnson. If they work him in the post, I think he can, eat on anybody there. Marcus Lee, Skylar Brissier. I mean, he's going to be unstoppable. And you play him with a Kennedy Meeks, you have that 2 low post presence. It's going to be really tough to beat them. You're going to have to play 2 bigs at the same time. That'll probably mean Poythress goes to the bench because I don't think he can guard the speed of Johnson or, the power of Kennedy Meeks or even Isaiah Hicks. And so you're going to have to go, a little bit bigger with Lee and Brissier on the floor, with Briscoe playing a small, 3 role. And I just think UNC has the length and the talent to beat them.
I'm also taking talent, but I'm taking Kentucky because Kentucky has more talent. You look at NBA draft prospects, who has more? Kentucky. Kentucky is going to defeat UNC. They have a chip on their shoulder. They got disrespected by the NCAA. John Calipari will certainly tell you that. As a 4 seed, they defeated Texas A&M in the SEC championship. Texas A&M is a 3 seed. Kentucky is somehow a 4 seed. I think they're going to play with a chip on their shoulder. They're going to play angry. I trust my boy, John Calipari. How can you not? John Calipari is going to upset UNC. Mark my words, Peter. I mean, that's where our brackets seem to differentiate. That's where our brackets seem to have a big hole in the difference. So, for me, I think Kentucky will get past the Tar Heels. And then, bringing it right down, I have Xavier facing Kentucky. As you mentioned before, you had Wisconsin. I had Wisconsin, but as I said, it's a flip of a coin. I just like Xavier's defense. So you have UNC, Wisconsin. I have Kentucky, Xavier. So we have similar matchups, kind of. We just went different ways. Right, we kind of discussed this before, but in the Midwest region, I have Butler and Purdue. Now, I'm going with the Boilermakers here. Purdue really impressed me in the Big Ten tournament. They showed that they're a tournament team. They can play well in the tournament system, having to play back to back to back. Some teams don't do as well, they're not as deep, so they get tired, and then come tournament time, they're tired, they're fatigued, and they're not as deep as other teams, so that seems to hurt them. But Purdue really impressed me, so I have Purdue at defeating Butler and advancing to the Elite Eight. Now you have Virginia playing Iowa State, complete opposite of me, so who do you have in that matchup?
I have Virginia. I mean, these are 2 really experienced teams. You look at a team like Iowa State, they've always seemed to struggle during the tournament. I mean, I just think they're finally going to, bring it somewhat together this year. I mean, if you have George Niang is one of the best seniors in college basketball, then on Virginia, you have Malcolm Brogdon, also probably a better senior than him. He's going to be, I think, an All-American. He's ACC Player of the Year, 2nd year in a row. I mean, that's a great team. Anthony Gill, London Prentice, that's a strong team. I just think they're going to be too much on defense and beat Iowa State.
Yeah, now I don't have that matchup, but if a Virginia-Iowa State matchup were to happen, that'd be intriguing for for so many different reasons. First, both teams want revenge. Both teams had earlier exits than they wished for last year. Virginia got defeated by the 8 seed NC State as a number 1, and then Iowa State lost to UAB, the 14 seed, who wasn't even supposed to be in the tournament. So both teams have that revenge factor, as you mentioned. Both teams are very deep. Monte Morris of Iowa State, Malcolm Brogdon of UVA. So that'll be interesting if it happens. Now you have Virginia, I have Purdue. We'll see what happens. And on the bottom there, Utah versus Michigan State. Michigan State, they're on the popular demand here. I've spoken to a lot of people. All the analysts have Michigan State going all the way. Who do you have in this matchup? Utah versus Michigan State.
I'm going against the experts out there, and I'm going to go with Utah. I mean, this is a good team. You mentioned it before. The Pac-12 is a great conference this year. It's there's a lot of tough teams, and to go through like they did. Yes, they were obliterated in the Pac-12 final against Oregon, but still, this is a good team. Podol, I think, is an elite talent, and he's just going to be a guy who I think can eat up here on Michigan State.
I couldn't agree more. Some people might think we're crazy since we both have Utah defeating Michigan State. But I just think Utah has a tougher road there, and that will prepare them well. Seton Hall's a very good team, Big East champs. And then if they have to face Michigan State, I think Seton Hall prepare them with the guard play. Forbes, Valentine. I don't think Matt Costello can defend Jakob Podol. I think Podol will really dominate him on the boards in the paint. So I think if he gets hot and if Valentine just seems to struggle, misses a couple shots, I think Utah can succeed. I've thought all year long. I remember in December when they defeated Duke in MSG, Madison Square Garden, we were talking about how great Utah and how they can go deep, so I'm sticking to my word. I have Utah in the Elite Eight against Purdue. Now let's finish it up. Cal versus Arizona in the Southern region. Who do you have?
I mean, I'm going to go with Cal. Like I said, this team has so much talent, and honestly, that's a matchup. I don't think anybody can stop Jaylen Brown in Arizona. Ivan Rabb, it's a little bit better matchup with Tarczewski in the post, but still, I'm looking at this team, and I'm just seeing a lot of points and a lot of wins.
Now, Cal, Arizona, this will be the 3rd time playing. Cal defeated Arizona at home, and then Arizona went on to defeat Cal at home, so they split a home and home there. This is the year. Sean Miller, it's now or never. You get to the Elite Eight every year. Can you do something else? Can you get that one step further? It seems every year he can't get past the Elite Eight. This is the year, Peter. I've been high on Arizona all year. It's a 6 seed. I don't care. Arizona will defeat California again. They will be in the Final Four in Houston. Mark my words, Peter.
All right, I'll mark them down.
Now, who do you have in the West?
Well, I have St. Joe's, Oklahoma in the Elite Eight matchup. And I think Oklahoma is too good. In this battle, at least, the miracle of St. Joe's will end in the Elite Eight. I think Oklahoma will shoots the ball too well. This is I think they're the best team in the West. And I don't even think it's really a question. I think there's a great team all around. When you have Buddy Hield, I don't think anybody on St. Joe's can stop them. I think they're going to roll their way into the Final Four.
Yeah, it's interesting. Both of us agree that the West is certainly the weakest of the 4 regions, and both of us have higher seeds reaching the Elite Eight. You have St. Joe's as they are an 8 seed. I have Northern Iowa as their 11 seed. So then my matchup is Northern Iowa versus Oregon. And once again, I just have to go with my Pac-12 powerhouses. Oregon, I'm so high on them this year. Those uniforms, they've got me hooked. So I've got an Arizona-Oregon matchup on the left there, Pac-12 duo. So that'll be interesting. And then who do you have on the top right?
In that matchup here in the East, I have UNC Wisconsin. I just think Wisconsin just doesn't have enough to defeat that behemoth that is UNC. I mean, Nigel Hayes, I think, is a great player, but you can't just be him, and I think he can be shut down at a certain point by some of those bigs on UNC. Although they won't be able to keep him out on the wing, but if they can force him to stay low, it's going to be UNC all the way.
I hate to say this, but I've got Kentucky in the Final Four. It just seems like every year they're there. I thought this was the year, we're going to see a 10, 11, a 4, not the same Kentuckys of the world, We don't have Duke, but still, I want to see someone different, but I just think Kentucky, too strong. Coach Cal, he'll have him ready. He's been here before. I just think that no one is going to get past them in that East region, so I have Kentucky in the Final Four. Then on the bottom here, who do you have?
In the Midwest here, I have Virginia, Utah. And I just think Utah, like I said, Jakob Poeltl is, is such a great player. I just think that if they can work the ball into him, I think he can dominate against, although it'll be tough with the pack line defense of Virginia. I think they can, give him good feeds in the post and he can go to work. It's going to be really tough to stop him. And I think I'm going to have Utah with the upset over Virginia.
I have Purdue versus Utah. This game is played in Midwest, Chicago, in the United Center, home of the Blackhawks and the Bulls. So I have Purdue defeating Utah. I think they'll have a bit of a home court advantage. Purdue certainly closer to Chicago than Utah. So I think Purdue, that'll help them. And the names like A.J. Hammonds, Matt Haas, they have two great big men, and two is better than one. I think the duo of Haas and Hammonds down low can stop or contain Poeltl because it's hard to stop him. So I think that'll help him. And then Rafael Davis, former Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, I think he'll lead them. Caleb Swanigan, just very deep. I think Matt Painter's squad will find their way into the Final Four. So my Final Four: Oregon as a 1, Arizona as 6, Kentucky as a 4, and Purdue as a 5. Who's your Final Four?
Well, it's going, as a 1 seed UNC, as a 2 seed Oklahoma, as a 3 seed Utah, and as a 4 seed California.
So there it is. There's our Final Four. Now, it's the time we've all been waiting for. Who do you have in the finals, Peter?
Well, in the first matchup here, we'll say it's California-Oklahoma, and this is where, my team, California, it all comes down. I just think Oklahoma is too good. I don't think California, I just don't think they're a team that can win the championship. They're going to make a run here, but I just don't think they have enough experience to really bring it all together. I mean, it's a year of, the senior class, right?
Yeah.
And it just seems fitting to have, a senior-laden team here and on this side, and also have another one on the other side with UNC defeating Utah. I mean, looking at it again, I just think UNC is too good. They just have so many good players. You can go down the list. That team, we were talking about earlier, I was saying how Duke's bench is short. UNC's bench is, so long. It's so big. It's probably bigger than Yao Ming out there. I mean, they have so much talent they go to. And I just think that's going to be too much for Utah.
So you have a UNC-Oklahoma final?
I do.
All right, and for me, you kind of made my point, Peter. You said it's the year of the seniors. Arizona, baby. They got 6 seniors in that lineup. All right, so I got Arizona defeating Oregon. 3rd time's the charm, all right? Oregon ended Arizona's 50-game home winning streak, and then Oregon defeated Arizona in the Pac-12 tournament. Sean Miller's boys, if they got a chip on their shoulder, they're going to want revenge. Arizona will be in Houston in the final, and I have them facing Kentucky. Yes, folks, Kentucky will make the final again. But don't worry, because I have Arizona Wildcats winning it all, cutting down the nets in April. Arizona Wildcats defeating Kentucky 71-66. You heard it here, folks. What about yourself, Peter?
I have UNC over Oklahoma. Like I said, I've loved Tar Heels all year. The experience is going to be about a really experience. I just think UNC has more tournament time experience. I think I'd rather have Marcus Page with the ball in his hands at the end of the game than Buddy Hield, and I'd rather have him work a pick and roll with Bryce Johnson than Buddy Hield any play he has. I think it's really going to come down to it. I think UNC's defense is just going to be too much for Oklahoma. And I think it's going to be probably about an 8-point game. I'll say UNC 55, Oklahoma 47.
Well, there you have it. I mean, if you're not excited for this tournament, I don't even know why I talked to you. This tournament is going to be outstanding. Best year in a long time. I'm excited. He's excited. Bracketology enthusiast Peter. Myself, host. That's all, folks. Have a good one.